Hello, and welcome to the Noted Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel, and your other host, Eric.
Hello.
And today we are doing part 2 of Midnight Mass. That is right. Welcome back to the spookiness, because it's October. Wah! Even though we haven't done any spooky themed shit at all this whole month, this is our one spooky thing. We're writing it in. It's a write-off.
I mean, I feel like Cyberpunk was like sad, dystopia, kinda not spooky, but just like grim, you know?
Yeah.
And then we have this, and then we'll have The Good Place.
Yeah, no, we're getting to something more cheery. And joining us once again from part 1 is Patrick.
Yeah!
Welcome back.
Hey.
You fucking spooky savant. I'm here for you.
Spooky savant.
In October, we appreciate you.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
Now we're going to start with book 5, which is a gospel. This episode begins with Riley missing. Dun dun dun.
Bum, bum, bum. Where did he go?
His family and Aaron become extremely worried. Aaron is asking pretty much everyone that she knows for help. She goes to the sheriff and tells them he's missing. And later in the day, Aaron had spent an hour freaking out. She's at home sleeping when she hears a knock on the door. Who's there? It's Riley.
Hey.
Riley's there. She immediately calls him out on disappearing, as she should.
She lost her shit.
Which I appreciated, because I feel like in a lot of movies and TV shows, they're like, immediately forget the horrible shit the person did. And she's like, where the fuck have you been?
She was mad. It wasn't like, oh my god, I'm grateful that you're back. Yeah, I love you. She was like, oh,
No.
fuck you, bitch. Like, what
Yeah.
the fuck? You know, so mad.
And
It was great.
And that was real.
Man.
And then Riley's just like, look, when you left, right before you ran away, you wanted,
Yeah, when they were kids.
yeah, you asked me to go out with you on a rowboat into the middle of the water and watch the sunrise
And smoke a pack of cigarettes.
and smoke a pack of cigarettes, and
Hey.
we did. And that's when you realize his dream of being out on the rowboat and watching the sunrise might have been
It's
connected
all-
to
It's
that.
all connected, man.
It's all coming together.
Dude, Big Daddy Flanagan fucking writes this shit so
Flanagan.
well. Daddy Flanagan.
Well, since we're in part 2, I'm going to say this now. Well, do I say it now or do I save it for later? It's kind of it foreshadow. Okay, this show foreshadowed the end in his first vision. I don't know if you guys caught it, but when he has his first his dream, like the bloody walls and stuff. Did you guys notice those? Like the
Wait.
doors into the chapel.
Maybe I don't know what you're
Yeah.
talking
I
about.
might not have. I'm having a hard time remembering, I guess.
I
Yeah.
don't think I pick up on when you're picking up.
Oh,
put it
well,
down.
I'll find the exact spot and I'll tell you guys later.
Okay. Well, until that happens, we're gonna continue. So she ends up agreeing with him. She goes out onto the boat with him, and they get into the water, and she's like, "What's going on?" And he starts monologuing about the stars and about the
Oh,
cosmos.
it's beautiful.
And yeah, and how it's beautiful. And then he says, "Look, I have and he tells her about how the stars were used to talk about gods, and that's where all religion came from, and that's where all this is."
the cavemen lighting their first fire. Thinking
Yeah,
that
the
those are other
campfires.
cavemen
Yeah, what a
lighting
beautiful
their
monologue.
fires.
Oh,
It's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful, and he's like, "And who could have the campfires in the sky?
That shit was wild.
Yes.
How powerful
Only
do
the
you have to be?"
gods. I mean, we
Exactly.
skipped over it in episode 4, but when he monologues about death,
Dude,
Jesus Christ,
oh my
also
god,
beautiful.
bro.
Yeah. Oh,
Also,
I think
just
we
like
forgot about it is because we're looking towards Aaron's death monologue later on.
yeah.
yeah.
Is so intertwined with his shit and her shit at the end that they're just beautiful. They really are.
Yeah,
But
because
I'll save that for
he
later.
talks about like all of the chemicals releasing and like how it will be the
Teens, yeah.
dream to end all dreams, and then like it will just be like bliss essentially. And then she talks about how like she'll be her
Littlefoot.
best version and Littlefoot, and oh, dude, it's so
Yeah.
sad.
Because she talks about
But it's so beautiful at
miscarrying.
the
They
same
talk about
time.
because he stays the night. They talk about death in episode 4, and so like
Yeah.
we can, I guess, with her monologue at the end of the episode, we can kind of get back into that.
Yeah, that is true.
So yeah, he talks about the campfires, and then he says, "I have a story to tell you. You're probably not going to believe me, but I have a story I need to tell you." And
he makes her. He's like, just listen, and she's like, okay.
Yeah.
that's all he asks. So he starts going in about this monologue. And so then we go into vampire AA meeting. So pretty much what happens is Riley starts telling her the story of what just happened to him the night before and why he's been gone all day.
Yeah.
And pretty much it starts with him kind of dying on the floor after the vampire.
Man's getting sucked out.
Yeah, the vampire left. It's gone, or the demon thing. And the angel, we'll call it the angel. The angel left.
Yeah.
And Pruitt is there over his body, telling him it's okay, don't be scared, kind of
fixing his broken neck.
Yeah, like breaking his neck back into place.
And
Yeah.
something we haven't talked about that happened before this was Aaron went to Riley's family's house and had that whole interaction with the mom.
Oh,
the mom. We saw a side of the mom that we hadn't even
dare
seen
you say
yet.
that?
Well,
Yeah.
that hasn't happened
Yeah.
yet.
No, it
No,
did
that
happen.
happened in 4. It happened in 4. Right?
No. Because she says Riley's dead, and that's why the mom goes off on her.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
hasn't
right. That
happened
happens in
yet.
6. That happens in
Damn.
6.
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
okay.
never mind.
Patrick. How dare you? No.
I bring you guys this show, and then I
It's all right. This show has so much
It's
detail.
so much.
It's
like,
so much information. Every scene is just jam packed. Like
So-
you really
yeah.
have to pay attention.
There's stuff that like I know that we're skipping over, which makes me mad
That's
that we're
okay,
skipping
it's
over, but
okay.
it's not like I understand why too, because there's so much shit
Yeah.
in the show.
It would be like
It was so hard to write these scripts, dude.
I'm
Like I'm being
Every-
serious.
Honestly, every
It was
episode
so
could
difficult.
be a podcast. Like they all
It
could be like
was.
2
It
hour
really
long
could've.
podcasts.
hard to compound it all.
Watch this show. Whoever's
Why?
listening,
Yes.
watch it.
Watch it. I mean, we say this, and we didn't say this last episode. Watch, listen, digest. You need to watch the original content first, so then you can listen and digest what we're talking about.
If you fucking
Yes,
listen to this
sir.
goddamn podcast and you're like, hey, it seems kind of cool, you don't know. You don't know shit. Your little virgin eyes of this show have not experienced what we're talking about, and it's important that you understand. Because it's a great show, and I'll come to your house and
Digest.
fight you. and agree with me. Yeah, digest.
So, Vampire AA. So he fixes his neck, and then we see kind of goes black. He then wakes up, and Pruitt's just sitting in the chair, the AA chair, all normal,
Yeah,
like he's like, take a seat, and then Riley does what any human would do.
He's
and
like, what the fuck?
rushes back to the doors on his
Oh,
and he's like, what's going on? And he's like, it's okay, we're past that, just come here, I promise, full transparency. And they pretty much, this is when Pruitt does his evil villain monologue pretty much and spills like the whole plan.
Yeah,
But it's done in a way where it's not like, you can't stop me, but it's done in a, hey,
it's
I want you to join me, so let
it's
me tell you-
self-righteous.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
very self-righteous.
Let
And-
me cover my shit that I've done.
and this is like where you realize that like Pruitt is not fully aware of what he's done. Like he knows what he's doing, but he doesn't think that it's wrong. And you can see that like his conscious wrestle with him, because even in this he's like the horror of God and stuff, and he's talking about all this shit. And this leads up to that big sermon that we talked about earlier.
Oh
And you
yeah,
can see the-
it is good.
Yeah, the fucking this is my rifle. This is my gun. There's many like it, but this one is mine. That shit where he talks about like the rifleman's creed and stuff. Later we'll get into that, but you can see how his mindset here in this AA meeting talking to Riley about all this shit is the same. It's the fucking same.
He's starting to get more and more like
Radical.
he's drinking his
Malicious.
own Kool-Aid now. Like
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's malicious. Yeah,
he's getting radicalized.
and I think
Did you guys, when you guys were watching this, did you pick up on how similar his sermons were with the conversations with Riley?
Yes. Yes, dude.
Like there was a correlation between like him having his meeting, and then that next Sunday,
it would be
he was pretty much just having that same conversation, but to the congregation.
Yeah, and it's like something that with this show that's kind of cool, and kind of what you're hitting on too is like as it goes on, yeah, it gets more malicious. You can see that the conversations that he's having with Riley are affect what he tells the congregation, and this is where after what happens at the end of this episode, you see that Riley is Pruitt's conscious.
Mm-hmm.
He is his morality side of this, and him
not
coming back, dude, is such.
Shit.
Yeah, dude, that's
I
why
didn't even
all
think
this
of that.
makes sense. And then at the end, you can see the morality of what Riley does and what John does. It is
like
so
kinda
mirrored.
grounded.
Yeah, and
And
that's why
shit.
Pruitt is trying so hard to convince Riley.
Yeah, because he can't convince himself.
But if he can convince Riley, then he's okay.
Yeah, and you can see this, like, Bev is
I did
the
not-
enabling side of John. Riley is the conscience morality side. And you have all the other shit that, like, people that just go with it, like Sturge and all the fucking the mayor and things. And these people are almost like side characters in this at this point. That
in Pruitt's decisions.
Yeah, they are the
Yeah.
tidal wave of whatever reaction that he makes. But the people that matter the most are just sides of morality for Pruitt.
This
And it's
this
craziness.
whole this whole show is just a man wanted to love, and these are the outcomes.
Yeah, and it's like
we'll get into that specifically.
Yeah, no,
specifically
we
even
will.
more. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's this whole meeting is Pruitt laying it all out to Riley and trying to get him to join. And he tells Riley that he's Pruitt. He tells him, and the way he convinces Riley is he tells Riley a story that Pruitt and Riley had.
Mouse story. And the mouse story about Pruitt going through this conversation about, like, kid brings me the shoebox and he prays that the mouse will be fine. And 3 days later, the mouse was fine. He's like, yeah, but it was a pain in the ass finding a mouse that looks the same. He's like, I had to kill the other one.
Yep.
And it shows that this was so important to the show because it shows that Pruitt hasn't changed. He's always been like this. Yeah. And it's no different. And he's always seen Riley as the good side of his mentality, like the good morality. And
his point to that was also like just because I did it and God didn't doesn't that mean that it's still good or something like that?
Yep.
Like, and he still says that even though it might have been not necessarily a miracle, that little bit gave you how much years of faith?
Yeah,
he's
like 10 or 12, like a decade years of faith.
Yeah, he's like, how is that not good?
And in that moment, you hear the enabling side. You hear Bev. You can see the sides of Pruitt through these other characters, and it's insane.
And so Bev ends up coming into the room saying, oh, he's awake, good. And he's like, we need more time. She's like, do you want us to come and clean up the blood? And nope, we need more time. Don't bring in Sturge. Not yet. And she's like, okay, and she leaves. And they continue to have this... but before she leaves, though, John calls Bev over and says, stand in front of Riley. She's like, are you sure that's safe? And he's like,
he knows.
He's like, I won't let it happen. Yeah. And so pretty much what Pruitt does to prove to Riley what he is now, he has Bev pretty much lean her neck right in front of Riley, and Riley can hear her heartbeat, and he becomes animalistic, and
he like sees the glow in her neck. Too.
Yep,
that was the cool part.
And he lunges forward, but Pruitt holds him down in the chair and pushes him down, and then Bev ends up leaving.
Displaying super strength.
and Bev ends up. Bev ends up leaving, and Pruitt pretty much says, Riley, see, like, that wasn't... You lost control. Your conscious mind was there, but it was in the background. You let go to your animal instincts, but you knew what you were doing.
Yeah. And he talks about how God has washed away the guilt of what he's done in killing Joe. Because Riley hits that commitment of being like, wait a second, you fucking killed Joe. Because that's when Pruitt asked him, he's like, why did you come back? He's like, I've been thinking about this whole time while you were healing or whatever. Why did you come back? And they have their conversation. He finds out that Pruitt murders Joe. It's Capri Suns him. And they go through this whole thing. And he tells him, and this is where that jealousy thing comes back.
Yep,
That
Yeah.
Joe got the apology, but Pruitt kills Joe, and he's like, "I didn't feel any remorse." He's like, "How does that make you feel?" And Riley doesn't say anything, and he yells at him. He's like, "How does
Yeah.
that fucking
Nah,
make you feel?"
dude,
And he's
that-
like,
that
"Jealous."
scene-
Riley
that
says he's
scene gave me-
disgusted.
Yeah,
Yeah,
He's
that
like,
scene
"I'm
gave me
disgusted."
goosebumps.
yeah.
And then he, after being pressed by Pruitt, he's
Yeah.
like jealous.
Dude, he goes in too. Like he snaps like that. He snaps at that point, dude. It was so crazy seeing Pruitt just like, no, like quit all your bullshit. Like tell me what you actually feel. And then Riley's head just like barely turns up, and they make eye contact, and he's just like jealousy. And it's just like, Jesus, oh my.
Because
Yeah, oh
Riley
God.
wants, as much as
he
Riley
wants
knows,
to not feel it.
yeah, as much as Riley feels terrible for what he did, he wants to let go of the internal anguish that
Yeah.
he feels.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
even in this moment, you see that Pruitt fucking still, he like the love that he has for Riley, and that he's trying to save him because he thinks he's right. And even in this,
Yeah.
he's still doing AA with him after all this crazy shit. It's fucking nuts, man. That scene
Yeah,
is
the
so
fact that
emotionally
they
packed.
still they still do AA.
They still do like the Serenity prayer. And he's
Yeah.
like-
Yep.
It's
He's
It's
like, this
inside.
will mean most to you right
yeah,
now.
that
and
fucking
then they do it.
monologue about the Serenity stuff is like it's bullshit, and you can tell that like this guy's lost it. But it's he's making it come around, and he's
Yeah.
like, I was serene because I felt no guilt. He's like, you feel guilt every day. He's like, tell me what you feel about how I feel no guilt, and that's whole jealousy thing comes around. It's
Yep.
nuts, man.
Bev comes back with Sturge,
Yeah,
and Bev starts monologuing about how Riley is chosen, even though she doesn't understand. God chose you, and
Yeah.
you now have this gift. And Riley snickers and kind of like backtalks her, and Bev loses
Oh,
it.
she goes off.
he fucking goes crazy.
How
He gets
dare you
so-
mock the word of God?
She gets so angry that Riley has been chosen, and that Riley is mocking her.
It's not Bev. Yeah, she's not,
Yeah.
it's not. Her.
It's
She
not only
was
is it not
jealous.
her, but the person who got chosen doesn't even give a single flying fuck.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was a murderer at all that. That's a thing
Mhm.
that Bev would
Mhm.
say.
Fucking Bev.
Yeah.
Fucking
So
Bev, dude.
that's
Oh, by
when-
the way, you guys, if you go to episode 1 and then go to 1540, you'll see it.
Oh, the scene
I'm just
you were
letting you
talking
know.
about.
Yeah,
Okay.
it shows the scene of the doors open, like, you know, after everyone gets rom nom nom nom, and then
Oh, yeah, everybody goes
Blood-
Kool-Aid crazy.
yeah, and then the doors are open, and that's in the first episode. We go back on to the boat with the conversation that Riley and Aaron have, and is like, he tells her that like the only reason why he brought her out onto the boat, well, she makes a couple of assumptions before Riley tells, and Riley then is like, no, the reason why I brought you out here is so that I didn't have any place to run, because he's like gonna burst into flames when the sun comes up. And she's like, nah, I don't believe you. And then the sun comes up, and then he doesn't burst into flames, and the person sitting across from him is the girl that he murdered. And then
She's all
And then-
restored.
yeah,
Yeah,
she's all
this is
nice
the
and
first-
pretty.
The
And
first
then-
time we see her not like covered in glass and smashed.
But then what's actually happening is that his whole body is disintegrating, turning into ash, and Aaron's just literally screaming murder, like
Yeah.
murder noises, like she's like dying essentially.
I
And-
like that
Dude.
she was freaking the fuck out.
Oh,
and also,
same.
I like
I did
that
too.
after he told her all this, she's like, look, she's like, I'm not afraid of helping you get the help you need. Because she's in her brain,
Yeah.
she's like, this guy is nuts.
Yeah, this
And
guy's
then-
fucking
yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, then he goes all Crispitos, and she's like, okay, he was telling the truth. So but it was a real human reaction, man.
And
the thing
I
that-
get why he did it too, why he brought her out there to show her, because if he didn't show her, she wasn't
wouldn't
going to
believe
believe.
him. No.
But then also, when I was like, oh no, it makes sense what he's doing is he'll burn and then she'll see it. But then when she started screaming, I was like, wait a minute, seeing her lover burn to bits, childhood best
horrible.
friend,
Little
lover.
selfish. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you would definitely scream and like, that's horrific. That's traumatizing.
Oh,
Yeah, and also,
trauma.
I mean, there's two ways that you can look at this. That Riley was like, took a moral high ground mercy kill, or he just didn't have the strength to go and try to help fight this thing out. And
Yeah.
there's two ways that you can go with it. Personally, I don't like that this is the way that he did it. Two,
Yeah.
I understand that this was the most logical for it, and nobody else probably would have believed him if he didn't
Yeah.
show them. But also, he could have like grabbed Aaron and been like, "Look, I'm all vampy now." Stuck his arm out, get a little burn, and be like, "You see?" And then they could have like
Yeah.
badassery killed some stuff. But this
Yeah.
was
This was the most
it's
impactful.
expected. It's the most impactful, and it makes the most sense for what he and why he did it.
Yeah.
And as much as I wish Riley could have like saved the day and been the knight and
Ben the chosen one.
I also like that, like I mentioned in our last episode in part 1, at the end of episode 4, I said I was angry because I didn't want my hero to become a mindless vampire drone,
Yeah,
and he doesn't.
he doesn't. No.
Nope.
He
Yep.
stands on his own 2 feet, knowing his weaknesses, knowing who he is, that this was his best choice.
Yeah.
And I'm glad, even though I don't want him to die, I'm kind of
Oh,
glad I'm glad this is what they wrote for him instead of him becoming bad.
I like
Yeah, becoming a
that,
monster.
and I know that we'll talk about this more later, but I like that all of Riley's family totally abstains from becoming vampiric fucks.
Oh,
Same.
yeah.
I
Dude,
do too. It's
that was
so
badass.
wholesome. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So they're on the boat. Riley is burst into flames, and Aaron is left screaming. But she goes against his wishes. His wishes were to run. Don't go back to the island. Get as far away as you can. But she's like, nah, I got to go save the family and any other people who would listen, right? So she gets into town. This is what Patrick was saying earlier, is she goes to Riley's family and knocks on the door and is like, yo, you want to come to the mainland with me? Because I got some stuff to do. Or she like invites them out to dinner. And then she's like, no, we're going to go to midnight mass tonight. And she's like, oh, no, like you really shouldn't. Like you should come into the mainland with me. And then she ends up saying like, no, your son's dead. Like you got to get out of here. And then Annie, she flips. She goes crazy. Well, it doesn't go crazy, but
She fucking like she
Which
pushes her off the porch. I thought she was gonna bitch slap her, to tell you the truth, like full
honestly.
like backhand. And I would have been like, yeah, dude, if I was a parent, somebody told me my kid died just out of the blue, I'd probably do a little smackaroo.
yeah. Well,
she was not having it.
No,
because Riley left letters for all of them, so she probably just got done reading that letter, and then Aaron comes over and is like, "Yo, your son's dead."
no.
After
no.
you got just like because they got the letters. at the
Annie never
beginning of
read
that
the letters
episode.
though, because Warren, the dad Walter, took them all to Pruitt because he didn't want the family to see him.
Read his letter
Oh
first.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah,
I forgot.
correct.
And then he took it to Pruitt, and Pruitt read his letter, which is, "We come from dust, and to dust we shall return." Which is,
Yeah.
Look at Ashy. But
Suckers. But yeah. She also tells Sarah, the doctor, and Sarah's like, yeah, this does sound really crazy, but I got one better. And then shows her a vial of blood. Well, not a vial, but a petri dish of blood. And then she scoots it into the sunlight. And then it goes up, sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. And then we also see the grandma, who's like in her 20s now. Or she's not a grandma, but the old woman, the mother, Mildred.
He's a gilf now.
The gilf. She's a gilf now. She's a babe. But so the town starts to prepare for midnight mass. Ha ha ha. And they're walking down the streets, like lighting candles and singing songs and, you know, hymns. Excuse me, they're not songs, they're hymns, you guys.
your songs.
Their songs. Hassan and his son Ali have a conversation about Ali wanting to go to midnight mass, but Hassan's like, no, like we don't do that, but like you should stay here. And then Ali is like, yeah, but there's gonna be a miracle tonight. And then that kind of like interest the sheriff Hassan, because, you know,
all the missing persons cases that people have reported. And she
Exactly.
reports Riley and how he was suspicious of the
Oh,
church.
yeah.
And then the doctor asks Hassan to investigate the church. And then he has that beautiful monologue of his past, which was just
Yeah.
heart-wrenching, dude.
Yeah.
He talks about how they promoted people that were practicing Muslims to higher authorities, and then they freaked out thinking that was the plan all along and started investigating their own cops. And that whole dignity speech that he has about his wife happens.
Yeah.
That shit was gnarly.
He acts with dignity no matter how fucked the situation is.
Yeah, he really does. And you see that with his son, too. He's a great dad.
And then we get big foreshadowing because he says, I don't carry a gun on me because if I did, people would say things. And then
You're.
the doctor, right before she leaves, is like, you never carry a gun on you? And he's like, nope, don't need one. She's like,
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, it's just
Her
he leaves.
Yeah, and they make their way to mass because he hears the miracle thing and he packs. Watching this as somebody that I grew up around firearms, I was so stressed when I saw him pick up only like a 6-shot revolver. And I was like,
yeah.
oh, it wasn't even like 6 shots, like 5 shots. I was like, dude, what?
Yep.
What? And like, I know all the vampire stuff. I know that he doesn't, so he's probably like, I need something small. But I was like,
This shit ain't
in my
gonna do
brain, it
nothing.
was like, dude, you're screwed.
Fucked. They all go to mass, right?
Yeah.
And then Father Paul is like, "Hey, look, there's gonna be miracles tonight. Look down this aisle. There stands 8-foot tall vampire angel."
Yeah. Well, it's after Sturge Kool-Aids himself in front of everybody.
Is it?
Yeah. So
and then he
has
walks up
Sturge.
and then he wakes up. Yeah.
Because what happens is he Kool-Aids himself, he drinks the rat poison, and he's like, I know you guys are all worried, but he'll be back. And then the sheriff walks up and grabs Ollie's hand and says,
Tries to leave.
we're leaving.
Yeah.
And then that's when they see
And then that's when
the
it's,
angel.
yeah.
Yeah, they see
Yeah.
fucking evil Shack at the back.
Yeah, the angel dressed in fucking Pope clothing.
Yeah, and he's in the priest clothing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he walks up, and then Father Paul goes on another like tangent, and it's just like, it's okay, like this is like when humans see them, they'll be afraid, starts quoting Bible and stuff like that, and then Sturge wakes up, and everyone essentially just starts like downing it, just like at random, kind of like everyone's just like, oh, I'm gonna die, I want to become eternal now. Gulp, 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 gulp,
And
gulp.
the mayor's trying to like force their daughter to drink it. They're all like on the Kool-Aid train.
Yeah, it's
And drink
fucking
any.
insane.
Well, because the daughter's a better Christian than the parents, apparently.
Gilf stands up and shoots at Pruitt.
She
Yeah.
headshots him so clean.
Big
Yeah.
shot, dude.
He got him above the left eyeball.
Wait.
She like it was
Wasn't
hard.
it? It wasn't Hassan who shot him, right?
No.
Gilf.
Yeah, it was good because they were holding down Hassan, and Sarah's mom pops up and she shoots once and misses, and then she shoots again and hits Pruitt in the head. No, she shoots Pruitt in the head, and then she shoots the angel, and then the angel,
Yeets her.
dude, Ed Reed takes her out of the chapel.
And then that's when they all start. They've all started to drink it already.
Yeah. And then
And they're
Bev
all
locks
just
the
killing.
doors.
They're just killing all of each other.
Yeah, Bev locks the doors. They all start to go ham and start killing each other. Some of them start waking up too.
Yeah, they start waking up, and then
they start killing each other.
eating each other. Even the kids are like getting ganked and stuff. It's metal as stuff. The Riley's dad holds off everybody so they can make it to the back room. And Aaron, Annie, Warren, Lisa, and Sarah all make it to the back room, but then the dad gets ganked. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when they see Bev the bitch.
Bev's the bitch hiding back there like little coward.
Yeah, she's not following. She ain't following the rules, boys.
Nope. She knew what was gonna happen. She knew she was gonna get eaten. She didn't want to get eaten.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, yeah. She knew. And
And
then she hid.
Dude, that line when she's like, "What are you gonna do, Aaron? You're gonna shoot me? I'll be back in 5 minutes." And then bam!
Man, does Aaron shoots her? I was so happy.
No hesitation. Just like, I've been wanting to do this my entire life, and you're allowing me to, so okay, bye.
She's like, "We got 5 minutes."
Yep.
Dude, yep.
So then Bev wakes back up, and then I think that's actually the beginning of the next episode. But either way, they wake back up, and she wakes back up, and then she opens the doors, and she's like, "Open the gates will always be open," or something like that, like quoting,
Yeah.
you know, the Bible, and that is like
Yes.
against Father Paul's wishes. He wanted the doors to stay shut so that he could teach everybody and tell everybody what is going on with themselves, and like not allow them to go out and inevitably what happens, you know, burn the entire town down and kill everybody, and like
Yeah, well, you
crazy.
can see him shaking his head on the ground after he's been shot in the fucking face. He's like, no, no. And she's like, whatever.
One eye twitches. No.
He's still cognitive. He just can't say anything. And Sturge is like, "But Bev, he didn't want us to do this." And then he's like, "So then this doesn't happen," and gestures
This is a massacre.
Drink the blood Kool-Aid and sacraments. They all ended up resurrecting, but the rest of the people in the town haven't drinking the Kool-Aid.
And this is where we see level 9 Bev. Like, she hasn't hit top tier bitch yet, but she's like, yeah, whatever. They didn't come to church. Fuck them. Open the gates. Let them feed. And you're like, okay, craziness. And
It's so nuts.
And it opens to the next one.
But yeah, in the beginning of episode 7, book 7, Revelations, in the beginning of the end, we see Bev take control of the town. While it's being torn apart, all the vampires are, all the Catholics are running out there feeding on the town. Hey, they're not vampires.
Next time I go by
That was a
Catholic
good
church, I'm
one.
gonna be like, look at the vampire church.
Yeah.
Hey, you vampires.
And they start tearing people out of their houses and start feeding on them, and start just like, they knock on the doors and they open it, and then they just pull them out and just like eat them alive,
Which is horrifying.
and then while that's happening, we see Hassan, Warren, Lisa, Sarah, and Riley's mom and Aaron all in Aaron's house.
Warren's just like wandering around. Or no, I mean not Warren, Walter. I keep getting Warren and Walter.
Oh yeah, Walter, the dad. He is, because he ended up being bit and eaten, but because he was also already had the blood, he woken up, and now he's all vampy as well.
He's just like aimlessly walking around being like, damn, you guys are really eating people right now.
Yeah.
Oh, right, Riley's dad.
Yeah,
right.
Gotcha.
Opinion in on anything, but he's just walking around, and so then we have our humans that are left in Aaron's house, trying to make some type of plan, and so then Aaron ends up arming them all with knives.
Yep.
Yeah.
Annie's like, "What is this supposed to do? Like, what? We can't kill them." And Aaron's like, "It's gonna spare us minutes."
Yeah, and this is when they
give us minutes, give us seconds.
This is when the mindset switches from we're trying to survive to where like we're gonna die, and we need to stop this contagion from spreading to the mainland. They have the realization that like the point of this is not so that because in the earlier episode you see Sturge working on the boats and taking them apart, but he's not destroying them because they need to go spread the quote unquote word of God to other people. So they have this realization, and they're like, "Oh fuck, they're not doing this to just the island. They plan on like
inhabiting the world."
Yeah, and it switches from being like we're gonna save ourselves to like we're gonna fucking die.
Yeah, because that's something we didn't really touch on is last episode in episode 5. So Aaron and Sarah's mom tried to go off the island to go see Sarah's colleagues to give them the samples and then come back. And like you said, Patrick, the boats were not functioning, and the ferry was off to be
they sent the ferry off. They cut the power They left the cell tower till late so people wouldn't freak out.
Yep.
But everything
Yeah.
else is they destroyed all the other ways to get off the island.
And then they end up cutting the cell tower during while they're doing
The midnight
While
mass.
they're at mass, yeah.
So then that's why no one can call out, no one can get off. And so this is now a let's protect the world, not protect ourselves.
Yep.
Yeah.
Keep it on the island.
Yep.
And so they end up, let's see. Sarah.
This last one is kind of sorry.
Well, Sarah and they send the kids to the uppers, so Warren and Lisa run to the uppers,
Yes.
and that's when they run
to
into
survive, just
They
in
run
general.
to survive, and they end up running into the angel himself. And this is where we see.
Oh,
and I don't know if
wait,
you guys
wait,
noticed
wait,
this.
we skipped the Annie yeeting
Yeah,
herself.
yeah. So
That-
Annie,
yeah.
Annie eats herself. So they push the kids out the window.
Beth starts throwing Molotov cocktails
Yeah,
into
Yeah.
the house
she's
to bring
calling
down.
for Aaron.
Yes, he wants to talk
Yeah.
to Aaron. And Annie walks out and is just like, Bev, no one's ever told you this, but they should have. You're not a good person.
Yeah, it just roasts her.
Yeah.
She's like, well, Annie, that was uncalled for. I have no issue with you. I
I
just want
have
to talk.
no quarrel with you.
Yeah.
I just want to talk to Aaron. And she's like, you're not God's favorite. You're not better than anyone else. And I bet it made you so angry that Riley was loved as much as by God as much as you were. Why does it make you angry that everyone's loved? And then Bev, being the bitch she is, says, your son murdered someone, so maybe that just shows how good of a parent you were.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The kids are the subjects of their parents. Yeah.
and then-
And then Annie's like, yeah, you're right. He was every bit of me, good and bad, which is what an A1 parent response
Honestly,
is.
a good.
What a mature
Yep.
response.
And then Sturge and her and Bev realize, oh, she's stalling. So Annie then takes
go
the
around
knife
back.
Yeah.
and cuts her throat open, so blood starts pouring out of her neck, and she falls. So then Sturge and Bev get all occupied on that good, sweet, sweet
They're
blood.
sucking the they're slurping.
Capri Sun.
Yeah, Capri Sun. She opened herself up to the straw. Which is terrifying. But yeah, and then the kids go to the upwards, and in the meantime, they have that whole thing where Lisa is talking to Warren. He's like, He's like, you think we'll really make it? She's like, I didn't say that. She's like, I said we'll be fine. And she grabs the gun from Joe's trailer.
Yeah.
He's like, we'll be fine one way or another.
Yeah, which is
Dude, Lisa's
Props.
a badass. She's
Yeah.
a badass. Later
Um,
on, when they get back into town and they get into the spooky house, hiding from her parents, and they
Yeah.
find the angel feeding on, I think, Bull, was it still?
No,
something?
it was a new person, but I don't know if
Yeah.
you guys noticed this, but Bull and another guy, the other
They're in there.
dude that he killed, yeah, but their hands are tied. So they
Yep.
were fed on for days. And I don't know if you guys noticed that, but the
Yeah.
angel kept that shit alive, which was scarier
I mean-
that it was just barely
Yeah.
grazed over.
Oh, dude, it's terrifying. And so then Lisa and Warren end up lighting that whole thing on fire.
Yep.
And while this is happening,
I loved that. She shot it like multiple times, and it was just like, fuck off. Like, it
Yeah.
literally like
It was
waved
like,
them
"Go
away.
away."
It was
like-
like, I'm feeding, go away, I'm busy. Stop.
exactly. And so they start.
That's what creeped me out.
Dude, that thing had zero fucks. It's like you
Yeah.
are nothing to me.
Yeah,
It is driven by one thing, and it's to feed.
pretty much, man.
And so they burn down the fire, and then it screams but flies away because that thing is hard as fuck to kill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sturge stop feeding on Annie. Sturge is like, we should probably put this fire out before it burns down the whole island.
Yup.
Like it
And-
did in 81.
Yep.
And then Bev quotes Revelations, as Bev does,
And
and
third of the Lake of
Well,
Fire deal.
Yep.
she first says that there was never a fire. Right?
no, she said the fire didn't reach the
St. Patrick's.
St. Patrick's.
Oh,
specifically.
gotcha.
And then she quotes Revelation, says, let's burn it all. And pretty much her thought process is we'll burn all the houses, but the fire won't get to St. Patrick's.
Yeah, because St. Patrick's and the rec center aren't surrounded by like houses or anything. So
But didn't she say that there wasn't a fire though?
no,
And that's why they built the rec center?
no. She said that there was a fire, it just didn't reach St. Patrick.
Okay, got
Yeah.
it. Sorry.
And it didn't get it didn't hit the West Bank, is what she
Yeah.
said. She said it'd have to hit the West Bank to burn down the whole island, and this
Gotcha.
wouldn't because of the wind. But then
Oh.
Aaron and Sarah and they go burn those fucking boats, so those little gangly
Yeah.
contagion bastards can't leave the island.
Yeah.
Now it's Operation Fuck Over Your Plan. And so
Yup.
they burn up the boats. The kids are going up to get the canoe to go up to the uppers. And Sarah's mom,
Mildred.
Mildred wakes up and walks into the church and sees John without the ceremonial robes on sitting there, and he's like, "Did I hurt you?"
Yeah.
And
Oh, he asked if it hurt her.
if it hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like when it killed her.
Oh, okay. And then they start.
She says yes too. She was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
She's like,
Yeah.
fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Senior Pruitt brought the angel to the fucking island
In the
Is
case. In the box.
is because he wanted to heal Mildred. He wanted
Yep.
to help her because they had Sarah.
Yep.
Sarah was the bastard child of their love affair.
Yep.
And he never got to be a father.
Yep. And they talk about how if she would have asked, he would have taken off the collar and run to them.
And she has like one of the most mature responses I think I've ever heard to that. She's like, I wasn't gonna ruin 4 people's lives. She's like, so we did the right thing.
Yeah.
And she was like, and we lived our lives and we got old and we faded away and they didn't need
And
us
that's
anymore.
how it's supposed to work.
And I was like, it's beautiful because that's what life is.
Yeah.
And you can
Yep.
see that like this dude was like, yeah, but I wanted a second chance. He's like, how often a second chance is given? And she was like, yeah, never. They're not really supposed to happen like that.
Yeah, and like I think that's the thing that
Shouldn't.
also like breaks him as well, is that like when he saw like I think he makes the analogy of like I can make like Lisa stand up, like, right, but I can't get like a second chance or something like that. And it was just like, damn. Shit.
In a really touching conversation where you can tell that like he's now realizing what he did was wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fire is spreading. And this is where I talked about this earlier. The geography of this whole show
Mm-hmm.
comes together. Like everything comes together. You know, we're figuring out all this craziness. The kids are going to the uppers, the fisherman boats at the West Bank, all this stuff. It's all coming together.
Yeah.
And you can see it because and one of my favorite things about this episode is they keep panning back to show the island.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you see the large scale destruction, and they show the uppers, they show the West Bank, they show the West Bank go up, and even later at the end of this episode, you see all of the individual little fuckers go up in flames from the island. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
Yeah,
but,
I
you
noticed
can
it.
see.
I noticed it. I was like, shit, that's tough.
And you see all those people walking all zombie like yellow-eyed up to St. Patrick's, and he's just like,
This is
Fuck.
not us.
See one of the few people in the island that wasn't at the church who survived because Sturge fed him
Saved
some of
him.
his blood and
Yeah.
saved him. And Bev calls him out and says, I've never seen you at church. You've never been at Mass. You're not saved. And yes, the doors of Christ are open to everyone, but they're not open to you.
And
pretty much,
she also says like, we talked about this, Sturge, like only specific people.
mm-hmm.
Like, yeah.
and this is where like Sturge has like, he's not like fully redeeming himself yet, but he was always nice to me, and you can see that like in this moment,
Yeah.
Sturge, like everybody else, is
Human.
yeah, he's human. He's just trying to do the right shit, and he's really
Yep.
caught up in all this bullshit, and it's rough, man. Yeah, that shit's hardcore.
Like I said earlier, the path, the like good intentions pave the way to hell. Like they had good intentions, but good intentions aren't everything. They can
Yeah.
lead to bad shit, and obviously not everyone's a vampire community of Catholics, but the guy who Sturge saves starts crying and says like, they killed my daughter, they killed my wife.
No, he killed.
Oh,
he
killed
murdered
him?
his
Oh,
family.
Yeah, he killed everybody.
Yeah, and she's
Yeah.
like, it would have been really easy to save him if you just knew how, and you would have known if you showed up to mass. You're
And like
"Bev,
he,
you're
yeah,
a fucking asshole."
he wouldn't have needed to show up at all. All he needed to do was cut his wrist and let them drink his blood. Let
Yep.
them drink his blood. And like, yeah. So sad. Fucking Bev, you guys.
She makes herself more hateable every
Each
second.
episode. Yep. Every time she talks, anytime she's on screen, the hate meter just
Rises.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Monsignor Pruitt ends up, him and Mildred end up like pretty much inviting the student and says anyone's accepted in the house of church, or it wouldn't be a house of God.
In St. Patrick's, yeah.
Yep, St. Patrick's,
Yeah.
or it wouldn't be a house of God. And so then he walks in, and that's when we see Sarah lighting it up, putting all the gasoline
She's
everywhere.
getting ready to burn that beach.
Yeah. And he's just like the first word that he says is good.
Yeah.
Yep.
After
then-
he had just talked about like, like his good sermon and everything like that, And he's just like, good.
Mhm. And he ends up telling Sarah that he's could not be more proud of her, and
Yeah.
that he's been so proud of her from afar, and that she has no idea, and pretty much without saying it directly, pretty much tells her that he's her dad.
Yeah, well, he says,
Yeah.
your mother and I
Yeah.
are so proud of you. And he's like, and I wish that you could have gotten the chance to know me and I could have gotten the chance to know you. And then he's like, now go out the back of the vestibule and like,
Bah!
yeah.
And then bam, shoots him, and Senior Pruitt
Beats-
I loved it.
loses
fuck
I
it.
loved it. I loved it. I loved it. It made me so happy. I'm not gonna lie, you guys. I was just like, go.
So yeah, Mildred pretty much is the only reason why Pruitt stopped. If she wasn't there telling John no, like he probably would have continued and strangled that man and given him a third life.
That's facts.
And then that's when he walks into the church and he pushes over the candle. Right?
No, he goes in
He-
there and Mildred and Pruitt talk with Sarah while she's dying because he tries to feed her.
Yeah.
Oh
And
yeah.
she's like, no,
yeah,
and
then
she spits it up.
And
Yep.
then Mildred talks about her favorite place in the island is the little bridge
Yeah.
over the marsh. And they walk out, and Mildred knocks it down and burns the church down.
Yeah.
as they carry
Yeah,
as they
and
carry
Bev is
Sarah.
like, what the fuck? And they turn around, and they see Hassan putting
Yep.
gas all in the right center.
And he's like, don't mind me, just gonna burn it up.
Yeah.
And then this is him would do this.
Yeah, and she was like, I'm surprised you didn't wait until we were all side to exact your revenge. And he was like,
Who says
"No."
someone's
He's
not
like,
inside? As
Yeah.
Aaron walks
Then,
out.
because he's being shot
Yeah,
because
yeah, he got shot
the
in the
rifle got dropped.
Yep. And then Aaron's ready to light it, and then
Swoop.
fucking winged bitch comes out of nowhere and gets her.
And drops a lighter. And this is when we have Ollie's moment.
Yeah,
I love
Ollie
that. I love
pulls
that
a
scene.
hero
That was
moment.
one of my favorite scenes in the whole show.
And I
It is
think
so
when
good.
you see the camaraderie between father and son, especially a good father
Yes.
and son, you know,
Mhm.
he's like,
And
dude,
we
yeah.
also see a boy who's been bamboozled. He's
Yeah,
he's
and
been
is
made a
like-
fool of as well.
And he's like, no more.
Yeah.
Throws the lighter in, and it lights it up on fire. And then that's when all Empire Catholics are like,
We're fucked.
Yeah, where do we go?
no, there has to be another place, right? There has to be. And then Sturge and the mayor are like,
No, you
"No,
burned it all.
you burned it all. There's literally nowhere else to
Yeah.
go.
And you see all these people revert back to like very humanity, and they're like, "We should be looking for a daughter." Like, what are
Oh,
we doing?
yeah.
And Sturge is like, Sturge sees the kid, and he's like, "You're all right, kid." And he's like, "I think I killed my mom." And he's like, "Yeah, I've done some stuff too tonight." He's like, "You forgive me, kid?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, come on." He goes, "You too, Howie." And they just walk to the beach, accepting death.
Yeah.
And that's when you kind of have that redemption moment. And
While
It's not really-
Aaron's
And-
just laying on the ground, getting the life
Being-
sucked out of her.
Capri
Yeah,
Sun.
she
dude.
gets
Yep,
the
she
ultimate
does.
Capri Sun, but
But she's the one.
Yeah.
But she has the straw.
yeah,
Yeah,
she's got the straw.
She's sucking the fucking monster, dude.
And so, like, pretty much the monster starts biting Aaron's neck, and while that's happening, she ends up stabbing the wings, but the monster's too preoccupied.
Yeah, because I mean, bullets
after,
won't
like-
stop him. What's the little pointy thing? Not like what?
Yeah, exactly. And after, like, the fourth, like, wing cut, the monster starts to, like, notice something, but she pushes his head back into her neck,
Yeah.
so then the monster won't stop.
Yeah,
Yep.
she
And
knew the
she
job.
Fucking.
Mm-hmm. And so then she continues to stab both wings, cut them all up, so they are literally Swiss cheese on wings.
Yeah.
Yep. And he can't fly right.
Lies.
Yep,
He
and-
can. That was
No, he
that
can
was
fly,
the
but he
thing.
flies like
that
shit.
was the thing that really pissed me off. Is that when he did like a couple steps back, looked at his wings, and then was just like flew away. I was like, oh well, that blows. Like, you still got damage
Yeah,
in,
it-
but like, it can heal.
I was surprised he could. I was surprised he was able to fly, but it showed him like stumbling,
Oh, yeah, no,
like he
yeah.
wasn't flying very.
He was only like
well.
20 feet off the ground the whole time.
yeah,
Yeah.
but like still, he can heal. So like, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. He
That's
was
why
healing,
that's
so
why
that makes
I'm
sense.
like a part of me is like, is there gonna be a season 2? Because like, well, we
No.
don't know, man. I know that there's
No,
not
you do, it's
going to
limited.
be, but like in my brain there's room for a season 2, but it would just kind of be like a True Detective kind of thing where it's like a completely different cast somewhere else in the world, because that thing flew
True.
away and we don't know if it made it, right? Like it flew off island.
Yeah. No.
It had 30 miles
You can
to go.
Yeah, you can assume it
Yes.
didn't.
I like that they leave it. Up
I
to,
like
well,
to
who
think
knows?
that it did get away just because dun dun dun.
You want.
I don't
You
I don't
get-
want more. I just like the mystery of like
Yeah.
of like this being has been alive for a really long time, so it knows like how to survive kind of thing. I don't know. It's just like one of those kind of things.
Maybe it survives in a shipwreck.
Yeah,
somewhere.
or like it can breathe underwater because we don't know what it is. Technically, we don't know what it is.
True. True.
We don't know. All we know is it's a vampire Catholic
Yep.
Yeah.
angel
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, we don't know much
Yep,
about
cave
it.
dweller.
Yeah. And pretty much they all burn in sunlight. We get to see a touching moment between Hassan and Ali where they start
Praying.
praying
Kneeling.
together.
Yep.
Um
And it's
and
cool too because they found the shoreline that faces like Mecca. They're going east, so that was cool.
yeah.
You could tell that's important, and it's just a really touching moment.
Yeah. And with
And
Warren and
then-
Lisa being on the boat.
Yep, Warren and Lisa survived. They're the only survivors, and they see what's his face, the weird angel fly away, and they're like, do you think he's gonna make it? It's like, he got 30 miles and he's not flying well. I don't think so.
Yeah.
And then
you can't feel her legs.
yep, and now she can't feel her legs, and then the ash starts falling down from the sky, which is
Yeah, dead Catholic snow, man.
so creepy. Because yes, there's ash from like the
Oh, no,
burning
that was-
island,
that
but
was
It's
skin.
it's definitely
That was
people.
skin.
the,
Those
the
people.
only
It
thing,
looked like
yeah, the
snow.
only thing I can think of is
Yeah.
humans.
Don't bitch, Bev tried to ostrich herself, like you
Yeah.
said.
Yep.
God,
Which it was so satisfying to
It
see
was-
her
just freak out.
dig like a fucking
Yeah, well,
dog,
like,
trying to shove her body underneath
She
the
she
ground.
looks at Hassan and Ali and it's just like, ah, they should be praying. And then she looks out and then she's also just like, it looks like
fuck.
she's coming to terms with everything and what she's done, and that she's like, oh, I've made wrong, like I've done wrong. And then you just see her instantly panic and go into like I need to dig a hole, like freaking out. And it was just like, that's the real Bev right there. Is the
Oh, yeah.
one that hides, and it's just like, ha ha ha, bitch.
Yep.
I when I finished this the finale, I was like, well, that is
Sorry.
that I was speechless. I was like, that's a finale.
The very last words that were said actually made me laugh really, really hard. Lisa looks at Warren like they're just watching their childhood, their life burn away, and she looks at Warren and she's just like, I can't feel my legs, which is like really cool,
Yeah.
really beautiful, but also it's just like those to be the last words of a TV show is like a cripple happy to not feel again is like that's
Yeah.
insane, and it made me laugh, but it also made me like that's the best outcome for her at that moment was to
Yeah,
know that
and
she can't do
Aaron's-
anything.
Aaron's death monologue
Oh
was
God.
just
Oh, we didn't
beautiful,
even
man.
talk
We didn't
about
talk
that.
How
it.
do you?
And Aaron,
Honestly, I don't even think we should. I think people should
No,
just
yeah,
watch
no,
it.
they
Yeah.
should.
It was definitely impactful in my own life, and it's something I've thought about for months,
Yeah.
even after I watched this. And I still think about
It's
it randomly.
beautiful.
And it changed some of my own perspective on shit. And I was like, damn, like it was good.
The
It was
only
really good.
part that I will say was the part like I don't know it verbatim, but like the part when she moves her fingers through the grass and she's just like, and I am here kind of thing, right? And I am like the universe kind of shit. I was just like, whoa. Goosebumps.
Yeah.
and
Holy
like without
fuck.
going into like the monologue, but going into like the cinematography, another aspect of some beautiful fucking cinematography is she turns her head. 'Cause
Oh,
she,
yes.
Yeah, she hears Riley, she turns her
Yeah.
head, and then it's a smooth as butter transition between her head turning
And
and
her
then
head turning
cutting
back
to the
on the
scene,
couch.
and her being on the couch talking to Riley, and her head turning then.
Also,
It's such a
she
smooth
doesn't
transition.
respond to Riley in the memory of her and Riley. She responds as she's laying on the ground, and that was cool to me because you can see that it's like she's tripping, she's
Yeah.
dying.
Well,
you know?
the beautiful thing about it is that she quotes Riley's as well. She
Yeah.
intertwines his and hers, kind of, to the point where it's like it's poetic.
It really is.
It's a love letter at the very end, honestly.
Yeah, it is. I agree with you. And I think it's something that everybody should
Yes.
watch. And I don't, like I said, like I don't want to talk about it too much because I don't want to take away from the experience of witnessing it for the first time.
Exactly.
You know, like have a bunch of goons talk about it and be like, yeah, it's great. You know?
It's so good.
Go read it, dude. You know, go watch it, read the quote, whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
But it's badass.
Something also that's beautiful about this end scene is when I keep saying this, but I'll say it one last time. The vampire Catholics are all gathered together in the middle of the island,
Dude,
singing hymns.
Yeah.
that is
And-
like a beautiful example of healthy religion.
Yeah.
You know, like even at the end, they're like they revert back to what's comfortable and what supports their life, and
I thought
it's Christianity, and I thought that was beautiful.
I had a crazy thought in this while I was watching this scene is because like you kind of have like the like if you know anything about like what the end times are supposed to be, right? There's supposed to be like a group of people who are like about God and are still faithful to God, and then there's also a group of people who are like, you know, bad guys essentially and are like trying to convert the real Christian people or whatever into like the fake Christian people, right? And
Yeah.
that popped into my head while I was watching this of like Pruitt and the rest of the island that turn into vampires essentially are like the bad ones. And then like the people who like stayed faithful to a degree and like did return to dust because they came from dust was like that was their purpose, you know, was for them to go through that horrible experience and then to return to dust. And I was just like, I wonder, like, it was just it was a moment of like, I wonder if that's how that was supposed to work.
Yeah, I honestly, I think it's one of those ways that you can interpret it. This show is so interpretive in how you want to take the ending,
Yeah.
which I think is beautiful in the sense of like, you can take it, you can put a religious spin
Oh,
on
yeah.
it, you can take an unreligious spin on it, you can take a humanitarian, you can do a horror approach to it. But the show is so unique to how you want to see
Yeah,
it,
it really is.
outside of just it being a human ending.
Yeah.
And I like that it showed duality between religions and also it showed like similarities. It was just good
Yeah.
all around. Just banger.
And I know some type of religious background to a degree.
Yeah.
Because it hit so much on the nose.
Yeah,
Of
and
the little social interactions, how it is to be
Well,
within the church.
I think that I could see, yeah, they do, but also I could see no, as somebody that's watched their other stuff. A lot of their other stuff has nothing to do with religion.
Really?
Like, it's in there.
This
but
might
it's
just
like,
be like a love letter to their childhood.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, it could be, but also in the sense of their other shows are. I feel like this isn't a love letter to childhood or religion or anything, but humanity. And all of their other series are exactly like that.
Okay.
They're completely human, and it captures all aspects of humanity. And religion is such a huge part of
It
humanity
really is.
that I feel like this is so intertwined in a topic that's really hard to get, and they've really nailed it. But in all their other shows, it's the same shit. Like you see the humanity themes, and they do it differently every time, but the same level of emotions hit. And I think one of the ones that I think of the most is like Hill House, but Bly Manor is probably the most slow burn out of all of his stuff. But there's, and this doesn't spoil anything for the show, but it's kind of relates to Midnight Mass. There's a scene where a lady realizes her fate of what's happening, and she loves somebody, and it's her trying to demonstrate love through
Oh, did she pull like a Riley?
like a predetermined destiny. She knows what's happening, and she goes through this grieving process pretty much in real time. And it's a lot like the death scene with Aaron, where you see that she's trying to accept it, she's holding on to something, and it just ends beautifully and poetic. But it's the same humanity and like acceptance of death, and it's crazy, but similar shit. But honestly, I could definitely see them having a childhood in religion.
I mean,
lot.
they don't necessarily have to get a lot of what they did right. It just feels like there's specifically with the Riley character. It feels like there is some familiarity, or maybe someone on the writing staff.
I feel like that's.
actors, maybe.
I won't
Yeah.
lie, you guys. I feel like that's just a thing that everybody does. Like those kinds of questions, whether or not you get like the answers for them, like Riley's questions that he asks. I feel like everybody asks those questions. It just
True.
Yeah.
It's a very human thing to wonder.
Yeah, everyone asks those questions. I just feel like the nuance between, I guess.
Yeah.
Small town community churches and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
that,
get that.
I guess that's kind of where I'm seeing that. But no, you're right. Everyone asks those questions, and I definitely feel like he's representing a secular mindset.
Yes.
Yeah. I can agree with that.
Because I know for a fact, I mean that's the one reason why I struggle in belief in anything, is just because there's just always questions, and whys and what ifs to everything, especially to something that is not tangible.
I think that's, and again, I think that's just the beauty of the
Yeah,
show.
no,
just
100%.
how it captures humanity, and that's the reason why I like it so much. Is it's just so.
Oh, I agree. I mean that's.
Yeah, I can't say it enough.
And the ending is beautiful because it's bittersweet in the fact that like
Everyone's dead.
everyone pretty much dies, but the heroes, I guess, won, but they didn't win in the way that they survived, really, except the two kids.
Yeah.
And even then, it's like, it almost feels like it was almost kind of like an analogy for life. Like, no matter how hard you try, no matter what you do, like, you're
gonna die.
You're gonna die one way or another.
It's about how you die.
And,
It's
and
about what you stand for when you die.
Yeah.
that is why I think that ending is kind of beautiful in that way. Like, even though it's like, it's bittersweet in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's facts. I mean, what happened was the best outcome. 100%.
Oh yeah, the moment they started, like the boats were cut off, and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
this is not gonna end.
End well.
This is not gonna end with Aaron like Eren and them making it to the mainland, I'm like, this is going probably the worst way possible.
Yeah. When episode 7 started, I really thought that it was gonna turn into like a bunch of humanoid, like thirsty humans like trying to break into a house, and then just like a bunch of people like stabbing people like through windows. Like that's what I thought was.
It was a Walking
Yeah,
Dead
I really
stuff,
thought that that's where this show was gonna go, and so to be given what we
What you got?
like, I do it the best. I like of recency, like things that I've watched recently, like new things that I've watched recently. It takes the cake, because not only was it just like beautiful to watch, like cinematography, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I can't get over
It's
the
so
cinematography
beautiful.
in this show. Honestly, that's almost my favorite. Like, there's a lot to love about this show.
Oh yeah,
But it's almost my favorite part is they have so many beautiful shots.
I think my favorite
like-
thing about the show is the fact that it's a thinker. It not only
Yeah.
makes you think of like what they're going through, but it also makes you think of like before it gets a little fantasy with like the vampire and everything, like, or angel, whatever you want to call it. It's like, it's really like introspective, because you want to put yourself in characters' shoes and stuff like that, but you also want to try and put yourself through those situations as well. And it's just like, damn,
Yeah.
this is heavy.
Yeah, and I think that it's that empathy carries even over into like the horror stuff. Like I
Yeah.
feel like as somebody that watches a lot of horror movies, like towards the end of horror movies, you can't empathize
Yeah.
as much because you're like, sorry, bro, I don't know what it's like to be possessed by a 3,000-year-old
Yeah,
demon
or get
and
bit. Yeah.
yell at a mom. You're like, I don't really know about that, dude. Like I don't know what it's like to be a zombie. But in this, you're like, damn, I can understand the wrestling of morality and religion
Yeah.
in this crazy
I've
thing.
I've had heavy
So yeah.
talks with.
And wrestling with your own death too.
Yeah.
Yeah, death, like morality.
Yeah, especially when he wakes up too. Oh god. Dude. Like,
Especially when you realize that you can't die, and then you know you're gonna die. You know, like
yeah, that too.
insanity.
Oh yeah, and that's why like you can see Pruitt, like John and Mildred came to terms with that so quickly, because like they take her to the bridge, and they sit there watching the sunrise, and they're both so calm.
Dude, Father Paul, Pruitt, John, whatever you want to call him. I said it earlier, but his reasoning for doing all of this, like to not lose Mildred, like he went to Damascus to find an answer for a second chance, right? And then to come back with a demon in a suitcase, essentially. And like he did it all for her so that they could live together and have a second chance. And like, it's just so I wasn't expecting that either. Like, I wasn't expecting this to be like, I did this for love, right? Like, I really thought that he did that, like he brought back the angel because he actually thought it was an angel, and he actually wanted to like start like the end times, right? But he just did it because he wanted time with his daughter, and he wanted a second chance with his wife that he never got to love. And I was just like, holy fuck, no, God, what? No. Like, it just made me like, it just made me like him even more, but also like hate him even more, because I'm also
Yeah.
a romantic. So it's like, is that how far someone's actually willing to go? Because holy shit.
I will say it's not romantic in any sense. It's utterly batshit fucking crazy.
And it's selfish
So
too.
it's incredibly
It is
selfish,
selfish.
but like
But he did it.
it's one of those
from
things to where
his love, I guess.
it's yeah, he's got some fucked love, but yeah, it's it's not understandable or relatable, but you're like, okay, interesting.
The path to hell is paved
passionate.
with good intentions.
Yeah.
He had a good intention. He wanted to save the one he loved. Bringing an angel vampire death demon to an innocent
Oh,
town
yeah. Horrible decision.
and then converting everyone is not the way to do it.
Honestly, I think the biggest takeaway from Midnight Mass is if you have an old hottie you're trying to get
Don't.
back, like don't do angel vampires.
Don't do
I think
it.
that's the only thing.
Yeah.
Maybe just a
Just
phone
don't.
call.
Or no, just don't.
Like, yeah,
Or just don't. Let's
Just move
just
on.
had some old pictures.
move on.
Yeah, like find a new old Toddy.
And
If somebody offers
Find
you
Mildred.
clear plastic cup at a communion, don't take it. Don't take it.
yeah, honestly.
You
though.
drink wine, you're like, this tastes like iron.
Don't
May-
drink it.
You might be drinking blood.
Yeah. If you are drinking wine in a cave somewhere in Damascus, maybe don't.
Yeah.
If a winged beast flies onto your torso and then drinks your blood and then you wake up, hey, maybe stay in the cave.
Or
Yeah,
maybe don't
suntan.
wait for it to come back too, because he said he waited it between days for it to fly
I
to
have a
him.
question.
Maybe don't lead it to civilization.
How did it
How
find
did
him?
he get out of the cave?
Oh well, he wasn't dead, so the whole burn deal hadn't the transformation hadn't really happened yet, so he could move around
fuck.
in the sun.
Yes.
Duh, okay.
yes,
yeah,
because-
because his
because you
first
only
death
be-
was him dying in his house and then he woke up. Got
Yeah,
it.
when he had a seizure and no one around him knew how to handle seizures.
Yeah. I didn't even think of that.
Also, moral of Midnight Mass: learn
How to
how
handle
to put in
seizures.
the hands position. How to handle seizures.
Another lesson of Midnight Mass. Be Tony Stark. Learn from mistakes.
I think that's a good place to end. Thank you for listening to the Noted Podcast. This has been our two-parter on Midnight Mass. You should definitely watch it, because even though this is one of our longer reviews we've done,
Dead ass.
there
yeah.
was still a lot we have not
Yeah, there's so
covered
much.
because there's just so much going on, and this is definitely probably the longest review we've done, and it's impossible
I
to
mean,
cover everything.
both
So,
episodes are going to be like an hour and a half.
oh,
Yeah.
easy. So definitely watch the show. Give some love. It's on Netflix. Please follow us on Spotify, YouTube at The Noted Podcast. Like, subscribe, share. Please comment. We appreciate all the interaction. And thank you, Patrick,
Yes,
for
thank you,
joining
thank
us.
Yeah, you guys are fucking welcome for this show. You're
I'm-
welcome.
You gave us a good.
I don't even
This is a
care
good
that I'm
show
on the
to end
podcast, but
October.
you're welcome. You've been
I don't-
blessed.
Yeah. You guys go fuck yourselves. I'm just glad you finally watched it. No, thank you guys for having me. It was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Been noted.
Noted.